So, I've been having this thought, and I thought that I would express this thought for tonight's thought. Now, this thought is on the universe, but really, the world and the globe itself is a representation of all the different pockets of land, all the different factions currently within the universe. However, this globe of representational ideals and these different factions, which are traveling bodies throughout the cosmos, has a different take towards each individual literally coming across this body, even though they themselves are a part of this body. So, everyone knows of Texas, but taxes are the same. Going to her man is going to be a different man for the being who is looking at this world, although this is the representational world that everybody sees. But literally, it's like the bodies themselves are, just like their taxes are different. But Texas is the same thing. There's all these different lands that everybody's come across, and these lands' positions in regards to their interaction with the other bodies, but these are literally the name states. I say the name states because these are the states which, have gained recognition enough for their name to have residual meaning in regards towards the positionality of somebody within the universe. And it's like it's this body of meaning that is floating through the cosmos that, people have different fins and whatever else have you. But it's like that same body which is applying this algorithm to every body that it comes across. The fins, the whatever else, the taxes, the Herman, the states, right? And it applies that mechanism of all those different namesakes, which are just an aim, which is just a goal, which is a target, which is an orientation, which then describes the figure that we're looking at by obviously describing these other figures that show themselves in a certain way to this body. And it's funny because it's like the body's in motion, but really everybody's positioned. And what I mean by that is that it's like, it's already said, it's already done. But everyone's just running around, playing the roles or whatever else. So yeah, it's the thought that I have. I feel like I've hit a few key notes there. I feel like there's still just one good solid handhold that exists somewhere to further this thought that's just right, out of my mind. out of my vision, but I can feel it. I can feel it there. It's like my mind is reaching up and grasping for this one last extension on this idea here. And, as I've been talking about this, I've definitely felt it out, and I can feel that it's something that's up there that's solid, but I haven't quite grasped it yet, you know? And maybe what that means is that, when you're climbing, there are different handholds that if you haven't worked out your body to take that shape pretty much, then it's hard to get a grasp on it. It's hard to get a hold of it. And, possibly that's what's going on here is, I can definitely feel it. I can feel that it's there. It's just, just that one little shape. I'm just trying to figure out where it fits in. And I was coming across it when I was talking about, well, all right, let me run through this all again then. So, what are their taxes? Okay, so the world's this body that applies a mechanism where all of these different figures are represented due to, like, their ability to house structure and, house structure, which is structure and function. Okay. Now, if we say that we apply this mechanism of the different land masses and their namesakes, which give things a direction, which is an orientation, which is their position, which is then their structure. And then this is, their vision of this place and what these places are to them, then therefore gives their structure. And it's this mechanism that's just being applied over and over and over again. Now, what I was talking about was how it's all moving, but really the land masses themselves are already figured out and their names are already named. So it's like people are traveling around and figuring all this out, but really the people are already in the places and they already have the concept in mind of what these namesakes mean to them, then therefore deciding their structure of the world. But really it's like the same namesakes for everybody, which then applies their positionality within the globe. So it's already positioned. But it's like this giant serpent. It's like biting people with this world that then positions them within it. But it is the universe. And it's like people travel out of it and they come across like different, like, more pure aspects of portions of it. It's like they're diving deeper into certain sections of it by leaving it, and they're going back to like where these aspects that are represented upon it now came from. And so it's like going back into like just more of a like, other planets, so to speak. But really these other planets are represented within the land masses that are on this planet. But you travel off this planet, which is the universe, and then you go to, let's say, like some Pleiades or whatever, which, whatever group up there, but really that's like just a country it's represented here. But it's more of like a pure aspect of it where it's like the purified form of that state. And then all these different states and factions, okay, off planet are all like fighting through these different systems, these different solar systems and galaxies and clusters and whatever else, where they're all fighting. But then I exist like on this plane where all of that is actually represented within just one mass. Okay. And so they're all off in space, like battling through star systems and stuff like that. But literally for me, it's just like one entire globe. And all of that information is just represented. And honestly, I could actually draw this out where it's like everything is reflected here and gets reflected to here. And here is actually just the composition of all these external reflections coming to this point. And so really, like, it is sound. And so all those other conflicts of these other far off places which you can then travel to, but it's like the spiral staircase. You go up to a plane, you can come back to like this other plane, which is just the past or the future. Either one's just as easy to get to, really. You just gotta people get sucked into the future because the future is demanding. But if you just play the game right, it's easy to look at the schedule that the past was and then just go back and then just, pretty much perform the schedule of that past and then just be in that state and just keep doing that habitually over and over and over until that state becomes apparent again. It's like, you're just having to like, and that state exists, that you were in that state right now because the history has just rearranged itself, but you're just on another dimension within that plane. And so to get back to that place, to manifest your body there once again, all that you do is you look at the history that the time schedule or whatever that place followed, or just the series of events which gave it some habitual order, right? And then you just go and you just follow that order until all of a sudden the bodies and the images become back into motion for the plane that you are then like coming out of being the fly on the wall and back into actually having the bodies that were once represented there again as you kind of like come out of this vortex, which is the dimension that you're in right now. And so yeah, it's really not that difficult. It's just a matter of like being able to kind of allocate your time correctly, which based upon the situation that you're in, whether it's a sticky situation or not. Like I said, the future can be demanding, and obviously, people that have become super attached to you, almost like symbiotic, but at this point, if they're not allowing you to move, then they're not necessarily symbiotic anymore. They're just leeches. And, so obviously the game then gets played where it's like, if you're trying to go back to being king, then obviously there are going to be forces which, are going to work against that or whatever else. But honestly, like I've written before, like if you are just of the highest sect, on that highest plane, and then really if you just understand all of this information, then it's easy to just use any rationale argument that anyone poses at you with either just your positionality of where you're at, or using your own rationale and looking at how the things that you can possibly carry on you or within you, given in this state or of where you are, that if they were to carry anything which could overcome your state, that it would actually be a violation of their state as well. And then all of a sudden their dream logic is flawed. And then you can just overcome their reality, because then they'll become a serious bug, and then their own reality will have an auto pretty much immune reaction against them. But it's kind of funny then, because really you can just be like the ultimate bug. If you are able to understand the mechanics of, motion within unobservance, pretty much, and then being able to pop back in without having anything that you've done affect any visual beings within your dimension of being able to say anything antagonistically really towards what you've done, so that then all of a sudden it's like you can be something that can confound anything because they don't have any clue or understanding as to what's going on, because you just come back into their vision when they've just been in total immersion of things, and you're able to just pop in and out. Then really they're not going to be able to understand anything about what's going on about you, and it's just like you're an anomaly, and obviously you can kind of fine-tune that mechanism a little bit so that really it creates no questions either, where it's like you're something that's not necessarily causing like anybody to question, where you're something that's like unknown and unknowable, but you're still interacting, but it's not allowing anybody to question anything either, which is where all of a sudden, it can lead to some form of distress within the realities that are going on around you. But yeah, it's kind of all just fine-tuning the ability to just do all of that and just see all of that. And actually, I think I hoisted myself up on that last handhold there. Just, talking about, it's great. It's a great exercise when it's like you feel that last handhold. Talking about the feeling itself, me actually talking and expressing through just a parallel of an idea about, oh, I can feel it, but my body hasn't taken shape to grab a hold of it or whatever, just actually allowed me to grab a hold of it. As I took myself out of the discussion a little bit and talked about the discussion from another lens, it allowed me to actually see it and go over where I've been so that I can figure out what's next. And I got it. Cool. Well, yep. Good night.